Hey everybody, let's talk about health and wellness and the trimurti, the tri-union of the body, the mind, and the spirit, and what those things are and what health is. And every one of my talks, everything I do is always 100% of the time geared towards alleviating people's pain, suffering, giving them a slice of my wisdom and a path to health and well-being and comprehending what they are. And I think a lot of people are um, are confused as to what health is. And I think it's has maybe something to do with the television, and I think it has something to do with um, people around each other that expect a certain type of behavior. Healthy behavior doesn't mean to be a smiling depressive, as it's said. It doesn't mean to not have a whole range of human feelings. Notice I did not say emotions. When I speak, people think I'm being emotional, but I'm not. I'm pulling from those places, just like I'm pulling from those places to amplify a feeling. But the feeling was the essential source of me speaking, and those feelings come through. And this is a little farther from my earlier video today on chakras. The feelings come from the chakras or the energy centers. Somebody had just asked me just a second ago, and I'll dip into here because it has something to do with health. He asked, how do I know that the chakras aren't archonic traps? Well, how do I know that? Because no one can possibly on this planet that I've ever met, and if you can, cool, let me know about it and how it goes. Nobody on this planet can, um, you know, show synesthesia. What the fuck are you talking about, Zen? Synesthesia? What's that got to do with Archons? Well, synesthesia is the binding together of all of the, like a Russian doll. It's like when you bind together your senses, and that breaks down the barriers in between what the chakras would be. And the chakras, there are archonic forces, meaning there are differentiations between the octaves, because as I explained in an earlier video about octaves and archons and what these things are, it's the space in between the spaces, and they have to exist, or this would all turn into a giant soup of weirdness. If you could just, everything you could lick and taste, and I did a video maybe, 4 months ago, I think it was called psychedelic, um, psychedelic, I forget what it was called, but you'll see it if you look. But it just has to do with this idea of what the chakras are, how they exist, what archons are, and there has to be a differentiation. Just the same reason that for you to experience life, you go, oh, I'm spiritual. You know what? Demons are spiritual too. Yeah, angels and demons are both spiritual, and so is the person that's sitting across from you at your desk right there. You're gonna look to your left. That's a spirit too, and so is the spirit inside of the tree and the bunny and inside of the alcohol and inside of the food that you're eating and inside of the, really even in a chair that you sit on, because it's been imbued with some sort of information and energy of whoever may have sat in it. So in your body, these what it is there's a separation and differentiation, the same way that you have to have different pieces, moving pieces in a vehicle, in a clock, in a computer, in your body. You have different systems that do different things. You can't have one. If you were of the God mind, you would be in samadhi, and if you were there, what would happen is you would get bored of being there, because you would know that you were the tree and the source of all life, and you'd get bored with the fact that you knew everything. So you'd give yourself some sort of, you'd write out or you'd think out a certain set of events, and then actually throw yourself, and this gets deeper, here you go, you throw yourself through a magnetic energy system removal device, meaning the memories and the systems of energy in you, it would remove some of that, so you wouldn't know what was going to happen. So it would be kind of like a surprise. Surprise! Oh wait, did you forget you created all this? You're a god. You never put yourself in a bad position, but you gave yourself a couple frightening little. It's a roller coaster. You get out, you put your quarter in, you get on the merry-go-round and up and down and around. Then you go over and you get on the roller coaster, and it's, you know, that's what it is. And so, for you to have a human experience, you have archonic forces. You have the chakras, which are coordinated with your organs, which are and your different the level of energy that you have in different parts of your body. If you make it that simple, because you can't see inside of your body, you haven't cut yourself open. So hey, who knows? Maybe organs don't even exist. You know, we could play that fun game. But the the path to health is making sure every one of those things is functioning correctly. And if we're going to make this simple for everybody, let's just, because everything is allegory, and the reason that anything is made is it's made based upon the human body. So if we look at a car, a computer, or all of these things that we can use to say, oh, the brain is like a computer and the car is like the body, and we can look at those things and see that there are other, you don't just say that's a computer, but then you open it up and you realize there are a bounty of things in there that are causing this device to work the way it does. Just like the human body has just a bunch of different moving parts and a bunch of different organs or chakras. And yes, they are archonic, because there's nothing wrong with archons. Maybe I'm an archon. Maybe I am literally an archon and you just don't know it. I'm a gatekeeper. To what? To what? To the next level? What am I? Right there at the purple chakra? And so you can get past that level? Am I at the top of Mount Pineal? So I'm actually an Archon and I've bound all of my chakras together? I mean, maybe, who knows? Maybe you are. I don't know. I don't know who you people are. But if you're listening, and the point of all of this is, as always, is to let's guide you through a path to heal your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit. Because if you heal your body, your spirit, and your mind, your soul gets kind of collected back to where it was anyways, which is the place of omnipresence, knowledge, just omnipotent, godlike creative force. And from there you create reality and then dip down into it. And the way to get to health is not to say these evil archons. Archons are not evil, just like Zeus and all of these stories that you find in Greek mythology. They're not evil. They're not. It's always a scary story about a strong energy. You see, but it's not. It's given that way so those that would be fearful of it wouldn't want to play with it. But those are archons, and those are energy centers in the body, and those are planetary systems, meaning moving energy bodies. And they exist in many different ways. There's a reason there's 7 days in the week, and there's a reason there's 12 tribes, or 12 hours in a day. And those are the 7 or the 12. And then we look at the planetary system, and how many are there? Well, in the ancients, what they worked with the alchemists, there were 7 things, and then we looked at our hands and we said, no, there's 9 of them, and then it repeats itself, so therefore becoming 10. And then we started with the 12 hours and the 12 Horuses, or the 12 horses, and the 12 around the one, and the monad, and the months, and then we started, so we progressed from 7 to our hands, to the sun, to the moon. And all of these things are all coordinated. You can be looking at a piano. You got how many white keys and how many black keys. You've got 7 white keys, so there's your 7 days, and you got 5 black keys, and there becomes your 12. So you've got the 7 and the 12. And if you really get into the mathematics on the 7 and 12, it's interesting. Go ahead and put 7 divided by 12 and 12 divided by 7, and start playing with those numbers and see what happens with the outcome. It's pretty interesting, but it's kind of like phi and pi and how those exist, and 147 and 528 and 369 and all of these. There's some fun numbers in there, but you'll see if you play with that. So what these are, again, to go a little further on health and these chakras and these archons, there has to be a differentiation between the spaces, so that your vision doesn't blur into your sight. Like, it's fun to do that at times, to connect those two, but to live in a space that your sight and your sound and your vision and your that it all unifies. I mean, that's great, but it's still differentiated, because that's what the archonic force is. That's what the there has to be a divide between the realms of your temple. And the realms of your temple is your body, is divided up with your, well, there's 7, which is the 2 eyeballs, the 2 ears, the 2 nose holes in the mouth, 7. And then you have 2 hidden ones. It's called where you piss and where you shit. And this is why in a golf course there's 9 holes on the front and 9 on the back. There's 9. It gets into a lot of games that we play that's all based upon archons, the human body, and chakras. So how do I know the chakras aren't evil archons? Well, I know they're actually archons, but I don't think they're some sort of traps, and they're not evil. They're not against you. Just like everything out there in the universe, it's not against you. Just it's powerful forces are often looked at in a way that people get upset or fear them. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times that people just don't like me, just off of my presence of my energy. And I know where it came. I know how it works, because I remember being a child. I remember not knowing. I remember having fear in my being, because that had more power than me. So a lot of times people just don't like me. And imagine that. Well, a lot of people really, really enjoy my company, and we have a great time with a lot of people. But the differentiation is archonic forces. Like, if I'm a whole, complete being, I still hold and maintain the realms of each one of my chakras and each one of the archonic forces, which would be all of the ancient knowledge, which is displayed in a way for you to see it, because the only way we know anything is through vision, through what something looks like. Language doesn't exist. I'm trying to tell you something in a way that, once again, language is this. It's a carrier wave to bring about history, heritage, and lineage. And that lineage is passed down through either, and this goes into how other, you can look into different cultures and how they pass down history. Some of it was in artwork, some of it was in poetry, some of it, so words and speaking, some of it was in artwork, and some of it was in making something, like a little token, like a little, just like kings would put their face on a coin, or maybe grandma would make you a blanket. These are called heirloom gifts. And these gifts are presents, means it brings you to the present moment, but gives you a lineage of your past and your ancestry. And this is what language does. And I'm trying to use this language, which is not the original source code. The original source code is imagination. Call it Jesus, call it whatever you want, but it's an image. The image is everything. And then we go from there, and we split up this one singular image, meaning your mind as God. There it is. That's everything. And so in that way, there are no archons. It's just you. It's just you as God, the Most High. But then we split it down into this body that we're living in, and we have to organize it in a certain way so that we can have experiences that we have. And there has to be division to have an experience. Division meaning there has to be what's over there for me to exist. I have to have space for the solid to exist. I have to have a color that isn't red for me to see red. You can't have all of the exact same thing. So this is the differentiation in what the human experience is, to divide us up, to make us all different spirits. And within each spirit, there's a division within the self, which is within the body, which is reflected holographically in the outer worlds, meaning, what do I see in the sky? What do I see walking around me? What kind of city am I in? What about these energy centers? The planet has energy centers, just like the body has energy centers. If you just had one source of energy in your body, and that source got shut off, you would die really quickly. So there's a reason there's more than one energy source in your body. And we get even deeper into what the heart is, because the heart is not it's not a pump. The explosive force that's occurring throughout your body comes through your bowels. That's what's moving things. It's a chemical reaction in your bowels that's causing your heart to pump. Your heart isn't pumping. It's, I would suggest people that get into the work of, I studied this like, well, what, 7 years ago, 8 years ago? I can't remember his name, but I think it was, just look into the heart not being a pump, and it's, was it from that dude that is always talking about using, it's one of those mystics. He got into astral travel a lot. He's very popularized, but he was talking about this. Anyways, so just back to the thing. You have these different organs, these different energy centers, these different archons that are vital to your existence, and they actually give you differentiation so that you can have a multifaceted, multi-leveled experience in the human world, in this existence that we have. And as the beginning of this video, I was trying to explain to you health and well-being, and what sometimes that is exploring energy in different ways. There's a reason people get involved with, like, let's say, boxers. Why would anybody want to beat the shit out of somebody else? Well, because they don't see it that way. They don't see the battle as trouble. They see it as somewhat of a sport, and a sport is an S-port, a port of S, which S is energy. S is everything to do with snakes and the caduceus and the pulling of energy. It's a sine wave. S, it's a snake. C, you live in sin in a sine wave. So this sport that we're talking about, whatever it might be, boxing, to put something into a ring, it's a ring in a box, squaring the circle, the biggest squared circle. See, we can play this game. I can do all this for you for days. That's a lot of fun. But what happens is, in this arena of this plane of earth or Maya, or whatever you want to call the flat plane that we live on, whatever you want to call it, the way that we express ourselves and participate in what is healthy, screaming can be healthy. Expressing your energy is healthy. Art is healthy. It's an expression of energy. Making music is healthy. But we see those as like creative outlets. But then if we look at something that we think for a second is somewhat like filled with anger or animosity or some, like, a lot of energy, spitting out like what somebody would do in the squared circle, in the ring, and MMA and fighting, like all of these things. While I don't participate too much in that kind of behavior, there is obviously an outlet. That is a truth. That is an essential truth to your being, of being healthy. Sometimes, I got into this in another video, like, when you've been in a relationship with somebody and you have that that fucking fight, and then healing takes place afterwards. It's not that see, you have to understand, it wasn't the fight that caused the healing to take place afterwards. It was the build up to the fight, because there were so many things that were just littered within your reality that no one spoke of on the build up. There was a rock in your shoe, and then all of a sudden you have a blister, and you're mad at the blister, knowing damn well the entire time you could have stopped, take off the shoe, and dumped out the rock, but you just ignored it. And that's what life is, and that becomes this buildup of whatever it is people see as live emotion, live feeling, live, like, just like an essence of energy. And because I don't like the pot to boil and explode, because I've seen people in these situations, I happen to do this on a daily basis. I involve myself in verbal sparring matches. This is what the dozens is. This is what Yo Mama Jokes is about. This is what hood really means. This is, what the hood is, what ghetto is. And if you really, really want to get deep on that, sometimes we can get into why it's called the hood, and the hood of the vagina, and what the vagina has to do with why Jay-Z throws up the triangle, and the source of creation is black and melanated, and that's a fun game too. Why would they call it the dozens? Well, back to them 12 again, huh? 12 around the one. Who's the fucking hot sunfire? Who's spitting flame and knowledge? Who's spitting that? Why is everything so fucking fire out here? Why? There's a reason. Because it's Prometheus. It's the burning of the flame in the human experience. It's your heart and your mind. Just there you go. If you want to collapse your chakras, put those two together. See what happens. It's a bumpy ride. But that's the source, the sorcerer. And even in sorcerer, what you can see is the word sore, or sword, or words. WRDS, SWRD, sorcerer, sore. Yeah, you can get into the movies and Sauron, and we can. The point is this: the avenue for people to find health. It's like why fast? Why would you ever do that? Well, because it cleans your body. Why would you ever eat a bunch of oil and lemons? It's gonna make me feel bad, and I'm gonna shit a lot. Well, because I'm pushing something out of you. Isn't it better out than in? So that is, in a way, violent against your system from a level of the. I always like Savan Bomar's word where he says, you have ways of correcting the imbalances in the body, and it's a brute force method, is what he calls it. Brute force. That means the physical body. You can make the body do something physically by physically doing something. You can also do it mentally, if you're strong mentally, if you're a brain-powered person, and you know how to breathe, you can really make the body do something. And you can do something spiritually, and spiritually basically means that you dip into the higher levels of knowledge in the higher realms, meaning it's vibrating faster, and you can do things from the spiritual realm to affect your day-to-day by doing it last night in the dream world. Now, all of those things are all wound together, they're braided, and there's 3 of them, so you braid them together into what is your experience of, are you having a good time, and is it healthy? And the things that would be healthy for grandpa aren't healthy for baby, and the things that are healthy for mama aren't necessarily healthy for the doggy. There's different times and different places, but it all goes into how do you use your energy and where do you get it from. The energy always comes from spirit. So whether that spirit's inside of you, which it is, and it's inside of food, and it's inside of liquor, and it's inside of a chair even, just it's more subtle. This is why some people can feel subtle energies, and they can play with energy differently because they're more attuned, just like a radio station. If you have a radio with a tuning dial that is like back in those 1980 trucks, and you're spinning it from left to right, and you can't really get to the station, but then they upgraded and it became digital, and then you got, instead of just 97, you got 97.9, they get 97.995, and all of a sudden you realize there's more digits after that, and you can really dial in. That's called sensitivity, and that sensitivity is related to subtle energies. And so the farther you walk down that path of obtaining and understanding and corresponding yourself with subtle energies, you can realize what archonic forces are, and they're part of your being, and they're not it's just a matter of tuning in and dialing into that essence, because it's important. It's within your system. Yes, you are one whole being, but you're divided up to 7, then 12, then 144, and then infinitely. Like it's the flower of life. It's those different. The first chakra looks like this, and the second has more petals, and the top one has this many petals. Well, that's the expression of self, and it's there. But there are dividing lines in there to give you an experience. So hopefully this was a healthy talk for everybody, and we'll talk soon, everybody. Cheers.